ladies and gentlemen. My background generally is coming from working on herbal medicines types of projects. This project we were approached by the Gauteng Department of Agriculture. Gauteng is it's in the nucleus of South Africa. They wanted a project which can yield farmers with easier and which has a very short picking window, so that they be able to assist small-scale farmers around Gauteng because land is limited. I'll be presenting these results. It's one of the results of one of my MSc student, Ms. Nema Dozi. It's a joint collaborative work with the Agriculture Research Council, which is based in Pretoria. The title has been outlined there. Like what I said, we know that what is baby spinach, but what intrigued me, I was just looking on the dishes here in the hotel. There was no any leafy baby spinach. I don't know why. It could be for apparent reasons. It's an annual cool crop, green leafy vegetable predominantly eaten raw. In some other African parts, they also cook it as relish, but they don't have enough biomass because it has a very small leafy vegetable. It's predominantly found in most of the restaurants. They also mix it with some other herbs and so on and so on. It's a very sweet, tender, smoother than semi-savvy spinach. You'll be surprised that South Africa currently is a net importer of baby spinach from the US. And surprisingly, if you look into how they cultivate it in the US, there's not been much research that has been done in America because growers in America, they overtook even researchers. So in South Africa, we're trying to introduce this crop. There's nothing much that has been done into that. The demand of this baby spinach is exceeding supply. Farmers are predominantly cultivating it in normal spinach. But normal spinach, you can't put it as a salad, you just have to cook it for a while. Given the fact that we're trying to introduce this crop, despite the fact that the rates in the US are relatively very high for apparent reasons, we want to come up with the recommendation rates in the southern part of South Africa. And therefore data to recommend these rates as major nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and hence combination thereof are not readily available in South Africa. It might not be only in South Africa per se, even in other major producing areas like, for instance, Sweden and so on and so on. So these are the objectives that we want to work on to determine the optimal rate for nitrogen, and also to invest the interactive effect between the two. We don't want to presume that if once you apply one level and the other, we should be able to get that the maximum biomass, because what you want to do is to attain a maximum incised leaf so that at least you'll be able to market. Given the fact that we're based, University of South Africa is an open distance learning. It's one of the biggest open distance learning in Africa and third in the world. We are doing this experiment in a field trials within the Agriculture Research Council, which is based in the 25 kilometers away from Pretoria, if you know South Africa, and the farm covers 4,000 hectares. Like I said earlier on, it's a giant collaborative research that we try to do. We conducted 3 parallel separate trials to determine the N, P, and K, and later, after we determine the optimum rates, we try to have interactive effects based on that particular rate. And we had 5 treatments replicated 4 times with the sample plot indicated there and 3 rows. The inter-row spacings of 20 centimeter row spacing of 10 centimeter. The cultivar that we use is Ohio. It's predominantly in the US as well. It's being sold. The seeds are a bit expensive and they germinate very fast within 5 days. These are the rates that we used for nitrogen and phosphorus and also potassium. There are a couple of some rates in California. We try to use them in order to balance the interactive effects, but they will be a little bit high but we use that so that at least we'll be able to see what could be the interactive effects that it could be. The N-nitrogen trial was done separately, and phosphorus and potassium separately, and later on we did that into the interactive combination aspects. After the NP&K trial, that what I was saying earlier on, the combined NPK trial was conducted, consisting of 5 treatments, and this is the experiment of the combinations after we got the optimum levels. We used, for nitrogen, we used limestone ammonium nitrate. Phosphorus, we used superphosphate, and potassium, we used potassium chloride. When I was presenting the results from Gauteng Department of Agriculture, they were saying that why don't you go organic? Because you get more premium in organic. So we should be able to go through that at a later stage, because even organic, it has its own challenges as well. I mean, we don't know how the plant will be able to grow. And these are some next sets of the trials that we should be able to conduct going on. We recorded some parameters 35 days after planting some of them. We recorded the biomass, fresh mass and root mass, and fresh root mass and dry root mass, chlorophyll content and stomatal conductance below and upper. I'm not going to report some of the results because they've been reported elsewhere. From this set of experiment, we also analyzed the phenols, the antioxidant activities, and some other bioactive compound like flavonoids and so on and so on. We also even quantifying that so that at least we go deeper, but I'm going to report only the data for biomass just to see what those elements did. Leaf area and leaf protein and leaf nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium and leaf nitrate. The reason why of analyzing leaf nitrate, because you usually eat it when it's raw. We wanted to see exactly what could be the content of nitrate because we don't want people to die because of nitrate. And I'm glad to report that it was within the acceptable rates within the WHO. The statistical analysis, we did the treatment sum of squares. We partitioned into linear and quadratic polynomial contrast using South version 14.1. And I'll give you the reason why. You will see some LSDs that we did via that chemical range test. But for me, they don't mean anything at all. Because what you wanted to see the response. Not necessarily whether 50 kg or 100 kg is better than 0 or whatever stuff. Just to give you a couple of results for nitrogen trials, you can see that there has been a little bit of significant difference ranging on a fresh mass up to 75 kg applied hectare and dry mass and also root length. And strange enough, leaf nitrate content was a little bit higher at 120 kg applied per hectare basis. But just to summarize that traffic in terms of that slide, the application of different nitrogen level did not have any significant in terms of root mass. Nitrogen applied linearly increased percentage of protein content, reaching to that level, and significant increases varied application from 0 to 45 kg per hectare. And the percentage leaf nitrogen of baby soil showed significant increase at 45 kg per hectare. And when high nitrogen content was applied, 150 was significantly what I was saying earlier on, and all treatment linearly increased the percentage leaf protein content, which for me is not a problem that much because it was increasing, so we should be able to optimize exactly where it is. On some of the physiological parameters, I've just flagged all these aspects, but what intrigued me, you could see that from 0 to 45, there has been an increase, a jump. Forget about the A's and the B's, because at a lower level within the rates, which is relatively low because the Americans are going to 75, which is a little bit higher. I mean, 45, you could be able to optimize certain aspects. On the phosphorus nutrition, there has been a significant quadratic increase in fresh mass, dry mass, and also leaf protein and total leaf phosphorus. Henceforth, there was no any significant quadratic increase in terms of root length, root mass, fresh root mass, as well as leaf nitrate content. In terms of the physiological aspect parameters using phosphorus nutrition, like chlorophyll content, the all following phosphorus treatment significantly increased chlorophyll content of baby spinach fruit. And adductal stomatal conductance was not influenced. And however, applying phosphorus at 45 kg significantly influenced adductal stomatal conductance. on the biomass within the potassium nutrition, there has not been much that is happening within phosphorus, about potassium basically, with the exception that total leaf potassium was a little bit higher. And also there's not been any significant physiological parameters in terms of glomerular conductance, that stomatal abaxal and adult stomatal conductance. Strange enough, leaf area was a little bit increased, but these are some of the experiments that we still need to validate that on the potassium aspects. Because leaf area increased, but there was no any significant in terms of the biomass production. Right. The treatment combinations for NP and K, I didn't put the results over there, but I just summarized some of the aspects. There's been, when we combine NPK based on the rates which were reaching maximum, I don't like the word optimum, fresh mass and dry mass compared to the control was also significantly increased. Hence, there was no any significant differences in leaf area we observed following the application of combined nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium, and none of the combination treatment improved root length, fresh root mass, and dry root mass. What is that we can be able to conclude here from the study? The growth and development of baby spinach was significantly increased by fertilizers applied as well as fertilizer rates, and they applied adequate application of nitrogen and phosphorus reaching at 45 kg per hectare improved growth parameters leading to the quadratic phase of yield, dry mass, chlorophyll content, and leaf area. However, potassium did not exhibit that much any significant effect. However, the combination of NP and K with those rays indicated over there had a significant effect. Thank you very much.
I have a quick question. Like when you were choosing those application rates, like you had 67 kilograms and then 85 or 123 and something like that.
Yeah.
Like were they based on previous studies, or was there a logic like?
Yes, there was a logic, because the logic behind that, we took some rates that were recommended in California, because apparently these are the guys who were a little bit ahead in terms of baby spinach production. We took some of them, and so that at least we'll be able to use as a baseline.
Okay.
Yeah. The same applies even to nitrogen and phosphorus as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any idea about the high level application of nitrogen and phosphorus, the quadratic response? I see. Well, I just want to know what mechanisms involved with the declining part. Why it's not saturated?
Okay. The quadratic response, if you don't want to over fertilize, because if it reaches to such an extent that the plants cannot take more, it's just declining, it's going down. So effectively, eventually you can actually even burn the plant, but that tells you that it's basically simple, the law of diminishing returns, so that you have over-applied, and it reaches to the plants the way the uptake will be able to take. Otherwise, you will be able, that's where how the cost economic benefit analysis comes in. Why should you over-fertilize? I would be so much worried if it was linearly stable. Therefore, you keep on injecting more. So the mere fact that it plateaued at a lower rate, and then it plateaued, it gives a clear guidelines just to indicate that this is now, you have applied it, that's enough. And it gives the benefit of the farmer either anyway.
Very good experiment, but I just want to ask whether did you analyze the soil first before you conduct?
Oh yes, yeah. They were very low. I think Ambani is going to present some of the results in the afternoon. It's a soil where the magnesium and iron were relatively very low, and it picked up when we were analyzing those elements.
The source of nitrogen that was used was lime, ammonium nitrate.
Yes, LAN, yeah.
Is it lime is added to ammonium nitrate or what?
It's just a mixture. It could be there, but the reason why of choosing those compounds as fertilizer sources was based in terms of these are the fertilizer rates that in South Africa they've got a high amount of nitrogen and potassium and phosphorus. Because somebody would say, why did you need to pick urea? Because it's a slow releaser, it has 46% of nitrogen, but basically LAN can be easily simulated by the plant. So, but these are the only sources of and again, some of the fertilizer sources, like for instance ammonium nitrate, if you push it too high, you're going to have that nitrate in the leaves, and it can have a detrimental effect in the health. So that's the reason why we chose those rates.
Yes, but ammonium nitrate, I think, is not allowed because it is considered as an explosive material.
No.
In our country, it's not allowed.
Oh yeah, in South Africa, we still use it quite often. In actual fact, even in other crops like maize, even in citrus, they also use LAN. But if you want to do this type of experiment basically in your country, you just have to look into the rates which are recommended in your particular area, so that at least you are not breaking the law either anyway.
Thank you for the presentation. At what stage of growth was the fertilizer applied?
Now, it was applied 2 weeks after, but the plants were still a little bit very low, so we had to repeat the application, to split the application so that it don't bend the plant. Such a very small plant. So, but at a time where you should be able to apply to such an extent that you should not be able to bend the plant. It's a very small incised leaf, so to quantify in terms of leaf 1, leaf 2, I wouldn't quantify that. From what Ambani is going to present in some stage, in one of his objectives, though he's going to present only one objective, in terms of the leaf size itself, there are reports which suggest that you've got to reach certain leaf size to such an extent that you should be able to optimize the bioactive compounds within the plant.